Hello and welcome back to this reaction video. In this reaction video I'm going to talk about, does feminism include trans women? Female feminists versus anti-feminists. So yeah, let's dive in to it.
Well, to answer your question, yeah, you're talking about women. Women are not all feminists.
Yeah.
Yes. Some women are stupid.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. If you're a woman, you should be a feminist.
I think that's probably wise. I mean, if we lived in a perfect world, you might be like, well, what's the point being like campaigning for rights if you already have all equality? Yeah, you can make that argument. The problem is, when you don't live in a perfect world, it's like, oh, you'll settle with this, will you? First of all, what about other people? But also, people miss this point all the time. I've had conversations with people before where they're like, oh, it's my money, so I gotta spend it this way. No. Where you spend your money is important. Where you decide to draw the line and go, fine, I'm fine with not having rights, is important. Because if you decide, oh, I'm fine with that group having more rights, you're allowing that group to oppress above you. And that oppression gives them power. What they do with that power is kind of important, So this is sort of the point there. Even if you're fine, so if you, it's like, where do you spend your money? Well, even if you're fine with spending your money that way, what exactly do those people use that money for? Where you spend your money does matter. You can't just go, well, it's my money. Yeah, sure, but when you give it to somebody, it's no longer your money, it's their money then. So what do they do with that money? That's important. So if you give your money to Netflix, they pay the creators, well, I mean, they pay their, the actors and the high level writers and all that stuff, they pay them a fuck ton, but, they pay the smaller creators on Netflix get very little, very little, and that's sort of thing there. So when you give your money to Netflix, you're giving money to a corporation that does that. So it's Spotify, you're giving a corporation that just really just does not pay its workers very well. So with Audible, you pay all of these services are, you could argue, very good services. Audible is a fantastic audiobook platform. It's great for you, It gets very relatively good deals, and very nice, but they don't pay the creators very well. They're small creators, So this is never going to lead to the point of, just because you are fine with the restriction on rights that you have does not mean that that's okay. Because what exactly do those people who have better rights than you do, what did they do with those rights is a very important thing.
I think the concept of anti-feminism is counterintuitive as a woman.
Yeah.
Everyone should want equality of sexes, Everyone should want to have the same education level, the same all these things in a position and still make as much as a person who identifies as male.
In this society, we have to be feminists as women because there's certain things going on where our rights are being stripped away, and Black women, Black trans women are more likely to be murdered and attacked, and that's absolutely a feminist issue, and that's something that everyone should care about.
Yeah.
Everyone of any gender expression, men included.
Yeah. It tends to be the case that you probably should be worried about that. I mean, in general though, if you're not in a very high position of authority where you're a white, cis, straight man who is officially part of one of the main, probably in America, probably Christianity, and he's rich. Unless you're that fella, then you're kind of fucked, because you are being oppressed in a way. Now, obviously, there's different ranges of oppression, obviously, different groups are oppressed in different ways. Now, obviously, there are also people who are part of, they are one of the most oppressed because they're part of so many groups that are oppressed, but different groups are oppressed more, obviously. But when it comes down to it, when you have this oppression, you have to go, well, yeah, it's you should be concerned, even if you're not the one being oppressed in that way, in that specific way, you're also being oppressed. So you should fight all oppression, really,
It should be feminist.
I think there
Yeah.
are different brands of feminism, if you will, that don't represent what I think all of us here feel is the true ideal of what feminism
Absolutely, and I don't think that everyone
I mean, there
has
is
to be...
a certain point where it's like, well, is that really that? It's the people who call themselves Christian. You're like, but you're also a super capitalist, so you just ignore that section of the Bible, but you're fine with this part. Okay. Right. But the thing is that it doesn't really work as a thing. So how can you, it's like, man, I'm not really sure. Like, Terrace, for example, are you really a feminist? Like, you're kind of, it's self-defeating, really,
Be active as a feminist
Just
in
not a
the
good idea.
exact same way. Like, not everybody can march, not everybody can protest, not everybody can really be an advocate for feminism.
At the end of the day, it's taking a look at patriarchal systems and seeing the flaws in those systems and how they negatively impact everyone.
I pause on that thought. Can the disagreeers step forward?
Okay, let's see this.
Define woman. Go, please. One of you.
A person who their internal idea of what they
What did you just say? Did you just say no?
are is a woman.
Terrible definition. Coming from a lesbian, that destroys the very concept
What?
of our sexual orientation. Just saying.
Oh. Coming from, but you did. Okay. I think you misunderstood what coming from means. But anyway. So the problem, of course, with that is that it doesn't really, there's sort of no. That's, if I asked you define a car, that's one thing. But when you ask someone to define a gender, that inevitably is like it is a construct of sorts, so that it's like yes. But here is the thing. When you decide to divide the human, you have one thing. Pretty much it's just your brain. It's in your brain. But of course, how do you explain to someone that biologically in your brain, you are wired, you're a woman, You can't really. So you have to sort of say, well, it's a person who identifies as a woman. You can say all day long that that's a circular definition. But the point is, though, is that is exactly the point. If you said, what makes you a fan of this thing? Or what exactly is this thing? It's the fact that your mind is constructed in that way. Like, that's what your identity is. So, I know it feels like a circular definition, but it's actually not. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, do you want me to go into like the neurons that are firing and all that? Because there's not really.
That it's
You know,
why?
yeah.
Why?
Why?
Because you can't be connected and sexually attracted to somebody's brain.
Let's make sure to keep it to the.
I mean, I feel like maybe you're not a lesbian if you're sexually attracted to specifically the body parts. Maybe beyond lesbian then, because I feel like that's not the typical attraction. The majority of people are not attracted to someone based solely off of their sexual body parts. I feel like if you do, you might like, people are like the pansexual or something like that. It's like, maybe other than lesbian, because I think maybe that is exactly what a lesbian is, though, isn't it? Like, are you not attracted to someone based off of it's like being attracted to someone based off of how they, their so-called beauty. That's concerning. That is highly concerning if that's your sole reason, because of how beautiful they look in the general psyche. Maybe to you, sure, but what I'm saying is, if it really is, they match the typical beauty standard, so then that's not good. That's not a good reason to be attracted to someone, in a way. So, that's not really what would you wouldn't define a lesbian like that. You wouldn't define a lesbian as, yeah, it's based off of, it's the person. You're attracted to the person, and the person is a woman, and you're a woman, That's I'm not sure if they quite
The prompt, if you're a woman, you should be a feminist. Why do y'all
Oh,
disagree
okay,
with
okay,
that?
okay.
I completely disagree. You know, exactly 2 years ago, if I had done this, I probably would be a feminist.
Oh God, that fucking Egypt.
But then I started to look at, and I think the agreeers actually mentioned is, like, what do black women gain from feminism? Because I remember even during Black Lives Matter, when I led 2 protests for black women, and I counted how many white women I saw there, and the ones who were there who were just there to take pictures for social media, and then the black men also hiding behind us. Everyone, the whole world hides behind black women. Enough. As a
Same thing
matter
that's
of
happening. Look
fact,
what's happening in Iran. People on the feminist side right now are not speaking up for those Iranian women. I have a friend that is trans woman living in Iran right now. It's miserable. Nobody stands up for that poor girl.
It's Iran.
as a woman, I particularly think I'm a humanist. For example, 2 years ago, I was a raging feminist, and I made a decision to pivot my platform, teach black women how to sit in our feminine energy because we've never experienced that.
Well, that just sounds like black feminism to me, teaching women how to do that in the time that we are in now.
But we're not learning fast enough. We deserve to rest, we deserve to relax, we deserve.
The problem is, though, it's a bit like, imagine someone, approaches you and they start punching you in the face. And imagine you just, you have the ability with your mind to sort of just try and stop them. Now, maybe you'll succeed, maybe you'll fail. But one is, you can try. But instead you just sort of sit down and they almost beat you to death. That's, in a sense, what it could, because oppressors inherently are going to use any sort of thing, because it's benefit to them. Although I'm not even sure if it is. As long as it's just it'll be a benefit to you. It's fucking not, though. It's a...
to choose if we want to be a traditional
It's a
wife.
benefit to you. You. But is it beneficial? Is it beneficial for a man if they're also oppressed in many ways? I mean, in a way, but also the oppression of that group is also connected to the oppression of you. So it feels more like it's just benefiting people at the top. That's kind of it.
I went from law to being a CEO to now
Okay.
I just want to be a housewife. And every time I say that, I get so much hate. Like, women work so hard to get to this point. Why do you want to be a housewife?
Because that's what you
my
want.
choice.
That's what
Yeah,
you
but I think the thing is, though, is that some people would say, why are you pressured into that? This is always an issue, which is when you surround with choice, like, oh, this is my choice. But first of all, you can be made to feel like you want to do certain things. That's literally how psychology works. You were, encouraging someone into doing certain things. So the thing of oh, well, did you actually choose? And you can never really get at, well, did you choose? Or did someone choose for you and just make you feel as if you chose? So there's that.
want. That's the whole point.
Feminism is all about choice.
Exactly. Why can't I choose? That's the whole point of feminism. It's like, why can't I choose? What are you missing in America to claim that you are oppressed as a woman?
Well, we just had our rights
What?
to.
Are you a fucking idiot? Think many things.
Our own uteruses stripped away.
Well, the
by,
right to murder your own baby, though. I mean,
It's
let's
not
be
a
real.
baby.
It's not actually. Yeah, they're right. It's not actually a baby. It's a fetus. Now the thing is, a fetus is, and a big shock to you, is not really, in a sense, you could argue it's not a fully formed human. So you could make that argument that it's not even human. It is alive, but the whole issue surrounding that is that so is an egg, So is the sperm. A sperm is alive. It's a living thing. It's a living thing. See? So is it murder if every single sperm, every single egg is not formed into a fetus? I have to break it to you, but I mean, maybe in the future, every single but I feel like maybe that might be a little bit too much of a highlight. So there's just a bit of an issue there, which is this idea that, it's a baby. It's not really a baby until it's born, for one. If you have a miscarriage, what's that? if you have a stillbirth, or if you have a baby that has, unfortunately, an issue that will kill it. So it's born, but it'll die very quickly. That's obviously traumatic for people, but when you look at that and you say, no, you have to go through that. All those things could occur. And even if you ignore those things, even ignore all that, the simple fact of telling someone, you must do this. You can make that argument if, abortion was incredibly dangerous, and like, well, I know you want, but it's very dangerous, and we don't feel as if it's safe. Maybe in a few years, but abortion is safer than giving birth. You get an abortion, it's safer than giving birth. So clearly, it's not for the safety of the person giving birth. Clearly. And it's clearly as well not for the safety of the so-called baby. Because, if someone does not want to give birth, is it a good idea how exactly do you think that's going to work? Do you think it's going to be a good experience for them? And all the time you've got an issue there. There's always going to be problems there if you stop someone. And regardless if they didn't want to have sexual intercourse or anything like that, or if they didn't want to have a child initially, if they, wanted to use protection, maybe they were stopped or maybe they failed. Regardless of that, you always have this issue, which people just completely miss. That, first of all, fetus, yeah, it's a clump of cells. So is an egg. So is a sperm. So is all the bacteria inside you.
Maybe it's a clump of cells.
I mean, we all are clump of cells right here.
I think everybody
Yes. But
is going to agree and disagree.
Yeah,
on
that's
that,
a whole.
but I don't know if that's another topic. That's another topic.
I had a very, very hard time not stepping up to that prompt because my whole life I did consider myself a feminist.
okay.
Seeing how this modern wave of feminism has now turned into something very different
Different how?
than equal rights. We all want
How?
equal. Of course, we want equal rights. We want equality as women. Of course.
But
we
how can you
are
have equal rights when you can't define the word woman on the far left?
Far left. That's fucking hilarious. Like the far left. So you're saying communist then? So like a socialist or a communist? I hate to break it to you. This is what's very funny about right wingers. They are. When I say right wingers, I do mean like right wingers in America. So like your typical your right wing, and it's that they don't really understand what the far left is. Because like everything that they don't like is far left, it's left, it's woke, it's all, but you're like, no, you are inherently missing the point. When you talk about the left, sure, a socialist should be a feminist because you're contradicting your own ideology. But here's the thing: a right-wing person can be not a TERF. They can support trans people. They can support, non-heterosexual people. They can support women. They can. So it's not far left. Far left might almost all the time be supportive of these people, but you can be too,
Malta had a Women's Day recently, and the Women's Day was celebrated by 2 trans women who still had their male parts. I mean, you're pushing women out of womanhood.
I'm sure
I think you're talking bullshit, actually.
we're going to have discussions about whether or not a trans woman is a woman, but I actually want to go back to.
Can I ask you, let's say you were kidnapped and a surgeon just started cutting things off of you. Would you not be a woman because they removed all of the biological, so-called biological parts out of you? Would you no longer be a woman? No. You would still be a fucking, what sense would that make? You know? Because gender, you know, doesn't just go away. You have your mind, you know? So when you talk about, oh, these are male parts, so you take the... That's fucking nonsense. You know? The gender's not defined by the physical bits.
How we feel that our ideal of feminism is probably not the way that you four think of feminism. I'm willing to bet.
I agree with that. I think that's why people like me stepped away from that. Not because we're
Because you're ignorant.
not women empowered or believe in women empowerment.
It's because we are women empowered.
It's because we believe
No,
women
it's because you're stupid.
empowerment means something different than what you guys believe in.
And what I've seen now,
Pause
too-
there.
oh.
We're going to reset. Next prompt. There's no wrong reason to get an abortion.
There's no wrong reason. There's no wrong reason. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, there's... If there was, like, you could make an argument for any wrong reason. You could say, well, why not just, you know, give birth and just do that thing? Like, for example, if you just want, like, let's say you thought, oh, it's murder, but you wanted to commit a murder, then give birth and just use a hammer. Boom, 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 you know? Much more efficient, much more, that's, and you know, I mean, like, just, you know, it's a lot more physical there. You can actually, you know, see all the blood and tears. I'm just saying that, you know, basically any argument for a wrong reason, well, you could just say, well, then why would you get an abortion in that scenario? Just give birth and just do that anyway. If it's a wrong reason. Ooh.
Okay.
That's
If
good.
you were making a health decision between you and a medical professional that is the right decision for you, your body, your future,
Yeah.
it is always the right decision.
I would never stand between anyone with a uterus from making a decision about their body.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they're like, you can do it. You can have this health. You can have this health care if you are a victim of incest or a victim of rape. It's like you should be able to have access to that. What if you want it? You know, it's about. It's the same as going into the doctor and getting a routine check. If there's something for your body that you think will, you know, not just benefit you but help you live and also help you sustain an actual.
I mean, I know I was talking about, like, if you actually thought it was murder and you were... I mean, what I'm saying there, though, is inherently, even in that case, you would still be allowing that, because obviously, you know, like, if you make, like, let's say you make a car out of your bare hands, like, you like, mine the metal, all that stuff, boom, 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 you've made the car. Why, if this would be the equivalent of someone saying, no, you can't crush that car. You have to drive it. It's like, but I can't drive, so, you know, I'm not insured in this car. This car is not being checked to see if it's safe. I could die if I tried to drive this car. This is someone's basically saying, no, you must drive this car. You have to drive. No, you must drive this car. It's like, but I don't want to, and there's a danger to the car and to me if I do, and I just don't fucking want to. Even if there wasn't a danger, I don't fucking want to, like. So yeah, it's your car, crush it.
Good life for your child, then that's what you need to do.
And financial is a huge thing too.
It is a huge thing.
It's an extremely huge financial responsibility.
A child is the equivalent of a house in some countries. It'll cost you, obviously, over the course of many years. So, you know, it's not like, oh, you know, you won't be. No, it's like, obviously, you know. But the point is, though, a child can be the equivalent of a house. Can cost you over their life. So that sort of thing there is a thing there. So I mean, yeah, it's a thing there, yeah. It is a quite large financial thing.
Responsibility to have a kid.
I think, you know, every single person who's anti-abortion should just have to pay, like, just pay $250,000 to just like, or like 300,000, just like so every single person who's against abortion has to pay 300,000 for every single person who wants to abort the child. So just, yeah, you are, oh yeah, we're not letting it, we're not letting you have an abortion, but unfortunately we have all these, this like, let's say there's like 50 million anti-abortion people. So the 50 million anti-abortion people are gonna be giving you 300,000 each, because that's what they legally have to do, because they all have to pay for the person that you are forced to bring in there. You know, I feel like that's, yeah.
And some
I'm not saying we should do. I'm just saying like that feels like, you know,
people just
that's my explanation to you. If you're anti-abortion, that's what you're doing.
don't have that means.
I agree and disagree. I'm definitely pro-choice. I'm probably the only anti-feminist that's pro-choice.
Yeah, well, you know, if you're not pro-choice, if you're anti-choice, I think you're just a fucking idiot.
Pro-choice, pro-abortion is actually very common. It's like 78% of Americans.
Okay, so
So there's actually many people who are in your category.
Yeah, to me, it makes sense in certain
I mean, I'm not
circumstances.
sure if there are many anti-feminist women. There are a lot of anti-feminist men, yes, but I mean, I feel like even Americans aren't that fucking stupid, you know.
I don't think people should be using abortion as a form of birth control. I think, to me, abortion's, believe it or not even the issue we need to be talking about right now. I feel like we need to be talking about how to properly educate people, no matter what their status is, no matter what their sexual orientation, whatever. And we need to go from there.
Well, I think I have a very interesting perspective on this because my mother opened the first Planned Parenthood in our state, and she is very pro-abortion outwardly, but inwardly in our home, we weren't allowed to do it.
What?
And so growing up, that dichotomy really, I think, messed me up a lot because I was like, okay, which one is the truth?
There are wrong reasons to get an abortion. A wrong reason to get an abortion is if you are going through your pregnancy and all of a sudden you change your mind. If you are irresponsible and all of a sudden finding yourself scared of motherhood.
I mean,
When
I feel like, though, there are, if this is not always, but the majority of people who can give birth to one child can generally give birth to a second. Not every time, but sometimes. The majority of times, you know? So, I feel like if you just feel as if you're not ready or anything, if you could give birth, you most likely, I'm not saying, just to make this clear, I'm not saying you definitely will be able to, but majority of people who are able to give birth once will be able to give birth a second time. Majority of people. Not everyone, to be clear. So, in that case, if you feel as if you are not ready, you could make the argument of, yeah, you can just, if you don't feel as if you're ready, if you don't feel like you want to be a mother, well, yeah, you can just, if you don't feel like you want to give birth, well, then you can just possibly, maybe, do it another time. You know, that's a theoretical possibility. Not, once again, not saying that's definitely gonna occur. I'm just saying, you know, it's possible.
people say that
It's
they
most likely.
that women are getting abortions because they just don't want to be pregnant anymore, they're not actually understanding the way that an abortion works.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're talking about late-term abortions, and what a lot of people don't realize is when you have that kind of abortion, you have to give birth to the fetus. There's no going back.
Yeah.
You're literally giving birth to a body. It's never just a, whoop, I don't feel like being pregnant anymore. Guess these last 8 months I just wasted everything. No, no one's doing that.
Yeah.
Raising children is the most blessed gift. And I am.
You could, you know, adopt or like set up a creche or a myriad of ways of raising children without having to give birth to them yourself. There's many ways.
I speak as someone who, when I found out that I was expecting for the first time, I kid you not, I was terrified.
But you were prepared.
No, I was not necessarily prepared. I was not prepared.
Well, is anyone?
And I was very much
I mean, I could be who are like actively trying.
caught off guard. And I was terrified because I had an incredible career happening for me on the upswing.
Finances.
I had, let me finish.
Don't be like that condescending attitude. Let me finish.
I had such a dramatic, fearful reaction to becoming a mother because of what our society has been telling me for throughout my adolescence and my early 20s, is that once you become a mother, it's all over and it ends. And that is a very, very deeply rooted.
Because for many people it is. For many people it's like, it's an excuse to discriminate. You know, the fact that you have become the mother is an excuse to discriminate against you. That's just sort of a fact, though. Like, you can't pretend as if that's not a fact. Like, that just is a fact. It is a tactic of discrimination. You know? I think you should be able to admit that it is a tactic of discrimination to, you know, people who are in that position. Yeah. So
Problem in our society that I do think we need to address.
That sentiment is the patriarchy in action, though.
yeah.
What is the patriarchy?
What isn't the patriarchy? I feel like that's the better question.
It's a systemic ideal that favors masculinity.
I mean, once again, masculinity definition of the usual definition of masculinity doesn't really work, because it's like that women can also. Sure, it's not really.
Men.
It's more specifically men, because like, yeah, I mean, in a way, masculinity, but I think less so, because, like, you know, for example, most of the men who've been in positions of power don't really show your usual traits of masculinity. Maybe their lower downs do. Maybe the people who have power in a sort of like a distribution way, where it's like kind of like a, you know, where it's distributing power, maybe. But generally, the people at the top for most of the years have not really been masculine in that sense. They've been patriarchal, yes, but they haven't been masculine in the typical sort of masculinity sense, you know. But yeah, I mean,
Male power, male dominance.
The traditional idea of what a man is.
The patriarchy is a system that.
So what I'm saying is, it's not necessarily masculinity. It's the fact that because you're a man, you are treated better. You're given more
Oppresses
power.
not just
there's power against women,
but everyone.
It's not patriarchy, because the people who scared me so much were the women mom bloggers.
Just because it's coming from a woman, coming from women does not mean.
Yeah, it's like, if you were told, oh, you know, if you break your leg, the High Council will have you burnt at the stake, because they see it as anyone who breaks their leg is not fit to be part of society. If you were warned that by all those people who were burnt, you know, who survived but were in terrible pain, if you're warned by those people, then that would not be them having that position. That would be them warning you of society as they know it exists. You know?
But these were no. These were the women, and I speak with really strong conviction about this. The women who are publicly outward speaking to other women through blogs, through social media, talking about, my life is so hard because of my kids. Oh, my kids are jerks. Oh, life is this.
Yeah, kids are fucking awful.
I have no money. Those messages are very, very pervasive, and they're very dangerous, and they're toxic.
You don't think kids are awful? Then you're fucking stupid.
There are also real parts of motherhood. We just discussed how motherhood.
How many of you are mothers here?
I am not a mother, but
okay, I am a mother of 12.
Sorry, for a second I thought you were going to say a mother of 12.
years. And I know all of the very, very hard parts of motherhood.
Take your word for it, you know. Not necessarily just because of 12 years, you know. But maybe. I'm just saying there's... Beyond being a woman, there are other things that are obviously more, you know, like if you're very rich, it's obviously a lot easier. Not easier than being a man, but it's a lot easier than being a woman in other circumstances, you know.
And I just wish, as someone who has actually, as the only person here who has gone through this motherhood experience, I, from the bottom of my heart, wish that the positive aspects of motherhood supersede all of the hard stuff.
You wish that everyone's like, yeah, I wish the positive aspects, you know, supersede all the hard stuff. Yeah, I mean, but they don't.
Let's get
necessarily. Maybe they do for some people, but like, you know.
back on prompt.
They don't.
And there's no wrong reason to get an abortion.
I want
to hear from Isabella.
There's been so many points I want to talk
I was
about.
going to talk about Candace, maybe. Candace, what she says about...
Candace, what?
Just let her talk.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So my parents actually had me when they were 19, and thank God they didn't abort me. They were not ready. They were in a terrible situation, and
What do you mean, thank God they didn't abort you?
having me at 19 made them grow up and mature
Right, did it now.
and become adults and not continue being on a bad path. So I'm thankful for that. And a lot of something that you said it's society's, I think it was about society's pushing this idea, like demonizing motherhood, and you said that's part of the patriarchy. Well, I would ask you this, don't you think men benefit from women getting abortions because they no longer have to deal with it? They can just sleep around, and if
Actually, I think you'll find men have been forcing women to get abortions for many years, just more back alley stuff, you know. I hate to break it to you, but for many years. Also, men have been, for generations, been like, no, I don't care. You'll go through all that pain, and then that will be taken away from you and given to somebody else. Because you're not fucking keeping that, you know? So that's your choice there. Back in the day, when you were either, you know, they would have the person have a back alley situation where it's not safe because obviously the person doing it is not necessarily very reputable. You know, but you know, there was a transitionary period where there was like more, like slightly more back alley, but also a lot safer because it was actually women who were doing it and people who were actually invested in women's rights. But there's that sort of thing there. So you have this thing of, first of all, there was, you know, your purely for men sort of abortions. You had your, you will give birth, but you know your child will be taken away from you. So there's that, and all this. So, and there's also sort of just like, they'll just drop you, and you're just left as a single mother. And that happens to this day. So, I feel like that's not really a good argument, because for generations, men have been doing that. And it's worse. Because imagine if at 19, one of your parents had just told the other, like one of the parents told you, oh, now you're gonna have to lose that. Now you've just given birth. I'm gonna have someone who's gonna take it away, against your will. That's what was your old school system.
God forbid a woman gets pregnant, oh, she wants to abort it. Cool, now I'm off the hook.
What is the patriarchy?
I don't even know what that men oppress us and like.
That everything that goes wrong, that men are to blame. And I don't think that's a healthy way of being.
No, actually, you seem to be very stupid about society.
Very happy to live under
Have you
this
seen society? Is society good?
so-called patriarchy.
Very. What the fuck?
That men oppress us and like.
That everything that goes wrong, that men are to blame. And I don't think that's a healthy way of being.
You're a bit
Very
stupid.
happy to live under this so-called patriarchy.
Oh, you are you? Well, yeah. See, some people are just fucking stupid.
This word patriarchy, it does not make any sense to me.
Oh, see, it appears like you Lee decided, how about we pick a bunch of fucking idiots? You know, some actively stupid people. Like, very stupid people. Just very stupid.
Me. Women are not oppressed in America.
What the fuck are you talking about? This is the problem. This is the issue I have with people. I'm going to probably estimate that she probably has a relatively good position in society. Relatively wealthy. Most things have probably been a choice, or appears to be a choice to her. And all that, you know? Because I feel like that, you know, only someone in that position would be stupid enough to say that. Like, who is stupid enough to say this?
It does not make any sense to me. Women are not oppressed in America.
Which is, false, actually. It's false.
Patriarchal society doesn't bother me. Like Marilyn Monroe says, as long as I can be all of a woman in it, I am not bothered.
The feminist movement is inherently racist.
Inherently. I mean, if you are a feminist and you're a racist, you're just a fucking idiot. It's the same as being a TERF. You're just a fucking idiot. Like, you're being oppressive towards others as you're trying to stave off oppression for yourself. Like the people who are using your racism, who are using your transphobia, are the same people oppressing you, you fucking moron.
The feminist movement does not benefit POC in any shape or form. It especially does not benefit Black women. And the darker your skin is, the more you are used. I call us, Black women, as the bullets for the feminist movement.
If we're talking historically, if we're talking how feminist movements started, it was an exclusionary movement.
Absolutely.
If we go back to the suffragettes or even further.
I have to say, I think it is stupid to be a racist and try and, or be a transphobe, or be, you know, homophobe, or be, you know, any sort of thing where you're discriminatory a group when you're trying to stave off discrimination. Even if you are a racist person, but you're also feminist. Keep that out of your because you're going to cause problems. Because inevitably, they're going to take that. Go, oh, thank you for your racism. We can use that. There we are. That group is well oppressed now. Yeah, right for you. No one's going to take the rights we already gave you. That's what's going to occur there. Because you're not standing united.
Black women were not allowed to join in that effort because they really weren't fighting for Black women.
Until we were used as bullets.
Right.
If we're not being used, we can't be part of the movement.
They did use Black women. They used Black women's efforts because most of the most achievements that feminism, you're right, like most of the achievements of feminism have been done by Black women, and white women have stepped in and taken the credit
Absolutely.
for like people who do identify as feminists, especially those of us who are white. I think the most important thing for us to do is to sit down, shut up, and listen to Black women.
Like, what was it? I forget her name now. The British. She set up like a hospital, I think it was Crimea. No. Yeah, for the British. Anyway, turns out she was kind of a bit of a thief, really, because you know there was Black woman who was into the thing. You know, before that, so. You know, kind of seems like, you know, maybe not really doing much, you know, sort of thing. So it's like, yes, I mean, sure, but also, you know, it does seem the case that women do less in the way. Yeah. And there's always
Ladies and gentlemen, Magic Mike.
So.
As a Black woman who identifies as a feminist, my work centers Black women. So to say that, you know, of course, like white women were able to vote before Black women. Like the feminist movement was inherently racist, but how I live my life and the way that the community that I've built around myself of Black feminists, we see.
But why label it feminism?
Well, you can label it whatever you want, but
helping other Black women.
I affirm you, and I see that the
think that's
semantics makes you uncomfortable because feminism was racist, but
It is still racist,
but you're not racist. So if you are not racist and you have issues that you want to be working towards for Black women, that doesn't mean that you're inherently being racist or.
But is the feminist movement inherently transphobic? some feminists, or so-called feminists at least, are transphobic. Yeah, they're TERFs. They're also fucking idiots. So, you know, but like, there are others who are not, because they're more intelligent. Even if you are a transphobe, if you vocalize that as a feminist, you're a fucking idiot, because you are inevitably causing a problem for yourself.
Helping white women.
So it's the same way when it comes to racism. It's like, yeah, you're inherently going to cause a problem. If you are a racist, but if you're a white woman who's racist, shut the fuck up, because you're going to cause problems if you vocalize that, you know?
I think feminism exists on a spectrum.
We're talking about semantics, we're talking about terms. They evolve and they change. Ideologies change. Right. And I think that
Yeah, well, I mean, ideologies are kind of somewhat stripped to their definition.
feminism is evolving and changing. And I think it's because of the work of people like you. And so that's...
People demand that that they have an ideology they don't really have. You know, it's like, oh, people say, oh, you know, you're a left-winger. It's like, you're not actually a left-winger, you're just a Democrat in America, so sorry. Like, I would, if I was in America, I don't think I'd vote Democrat, because Democrats do very bad things, you know? So the Republicans, but like, I choose Democrats over the Republicans, but it's not really a choice then, is it?
That's why I can confidently say...
It's evolving. It's not evolving. I think it's devolving. You know, I think third wave feminism, I mean, by all accounts, I see, you know, again, have a very powerful black mother, very feminist black mother. And I mean, no one wants to say they did life wrong, but she's saying, man, I wish I could have taken care of myself. I wish I could have done this. I love how you get your hair done and you go get makeup done.
Yeah.
And she says it, you know, like she wasn't there in the household to raise us, like back to motherhood, because she was gone fighting every single day for women's rights to come home and be exhausted by the time she gets home. And we never got to have a mother, you know.
When I scroll my own social media feed,
Oh.
I rarely see a powerful woman highlighted who is not an ethnicity.
Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, social media is very unreliable. You cannot judge society based off what you see from social media. You can judge aspects of society, you know, but you cannot judge a whole section really. Because, now, obviously you can make the argument of, well, yes, I can, because the other people are just wrong. You know, they're spewing a bunch of bullshit. Now, you make the argument, yes. Which, you know, it's kind of fair. You can make the argument, yeah. But if you're wrong, then what you're doing is you're just missing out. And I think with social media, you're just inevitably going to be hearing not even one side, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could be hearing 10 different sides, but you're not going to hear all sides. And you're not going to hear all aspects. And it's just, you know.
It's true.
They're using them as pawns.
They're using them as pawns.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of big brands are now hopping on this, you know, modern feminism bandwagon.
Oh yeah, they're yeah, and then they've got really patriarchal systems inside their company. Yeah, that's like they're for profit. Like they're for profit corporations. They want to capture the market.
Which I don't agree with what modern feminism is.
Yes, but see, those corporations aren't feminist either, though. This is what people miss when a brand, when you see Hollywood, for example, a lot of homophobes are against Hollywood showing like gay relationships. But the point you're missing though is that Hollywood is not left wing. Hollywood is not communist or so. It's profit motivated. I saw before saying, "Oh, Hollywood is you know, is far left." Like, no, it's not. Hollywood is full on profit motivated, making the most bank and giving the top talent, so called, not fucking talented, they're just big names, millions. That's not what left wing is. So when you see that brand, you know, putting in, you know, a rainbow, putting in the feminist stuff, then that's not a brand most of the time. Sometimes though, sometimes it is. most of the time that's not a brand that actually is feminist or is pro LGBTQ+, but it's just a brand that wants to make money. So that's the stuff they put in there. And people have this idea that, oh, that's nonsense. No, it's actually just a profit motivated thing, because it's a way of capturing the market.
But a lot of brands now, and I'll just say, a big brand that comes to mind is Dove. Diversity is always a good thing. However, for years have not seen any kind of a ad campaign from the brand Dove speaking to women's empowerment that includes a woman that looks like us. What modern
looks like
feminism today is lacking, I think, is
oh, you mean the really creepy,
genuine respect for diversity of opinion for all women.
If you felt modern day feminism didn't hijack all points of view of women, that you would still identify as a feminist?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I mean, the entire time everyone was talking, all I was thinking was, wow, I'm so sick of all these labels and all these different intersections, and these days there's more intersections than genders, and I'm just like, all these identities.
I feel like someone who says, oh, I'm sick of all it, it's just like, you just feel like a lazy person who isn't bothered. You just feel like a bad, lazy person, in my opinion. It just doesn't feel good.
Politics groups, we're just pitting each other against each other.
No, not really. You just...
Race keeps getting brought up. I know it's brought up in the prompt for this one, but in every single other one, and I don't even think about this. I don't even think that...
Well, you're just a fucking idiot then.
I'm not being represented even in ads. I don't care. It just...
Yeah, well, you're just an idiot then. Because as that crushing machine begins to crush you, you're just like, I don't care. I
I don't.
Sure.
I am me.
I'm clearly
I'm sure you don't care.
You don't have to care.
Yeah, but your rights are slowly stripped away. If you don't care, if you don't push back, your rights will slowly be stripped away and stripped away and stripped away and stripped away. Every single advancement that occurs, it's stripped away and stripped away and stripped away and stripped away. This is the point. This is what will occur. Because you just don't fucking care. This is what happens.
Thank you for letting me know that. Feminists always know best for me. That's what I've noticed. It's a trend. But.
I mean, I'm just pointing out.
No, actually, it's just because you're such a fucking idiot who doesn't care. Other people have to fill in the blanks for you.
That you are a privileged white woman who has not had to see the lack of diversity. When we step into a room filled with other white people, we don't notice that it's other white people. But when women of color have stepped into rooms and they see that it's just a bunch of other white people.
Also, intersectionality is not just about diversity, and it's certainly not about diversity in ad campaigns. It's about how poor women can't afford to drive to another state to get an abortion, but rich women can.
Yeah.
It costs more money to drive to get an abortion than it would take to raise that kid.
I know this might come as a shock to you, but if I say, to cross this river, you will have to give me 2 gold coins. And you're like, well, I only have 1 gold coin. So I'm just like, tough then. Yeah, I'm like, give me 2. What? Give me 2 gold coins. I'm not gonna help you cross unless you give me 2 gold coins. So, but if I don't go, it's gonna cost me 500 gold coins. Tough for you then. I want 2 gold coins. Give me 2 gold coins or not crossing. That's the situation there. It's not how much it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you hundreds of thousands potentially to raise a child. But it's not going to cost you hundreds of thousands in one go. And also,
Well, but that's the thing, right? Like, if you don't have the money to drive to get an abortion, how are you going to have the money to raise that child? Why should you be forced into motherhood?
Reset.
I mean...
Today we're going to be making some...
I think the problem really is with this is that people they kind of miss sort of the point of society. Like they just like when you focus on ad campaigns are ad campaigns. What do you think? They're not viable.
Feminists don't appreciate all that men do for society.
Men do fuck all for society anyway. As men, I mean. As people, but men as a gender are inevitably just kind of tends to be. Like the average man, you know, it's not great. See, the majority of men are bad humans.
I mean, I've got a lot to say about this.
Not to say you are, if you're a man. Not to say you are, but I'm just saying.
I mean, feminists just demonize men. They hate men.
No, actually. You've completely missed the point there. As usual, ignorant person makes just totally wrong point.
All men are trash. They say they hate men.
Well, you're just a fucking idiot, you know that?
While simultaneously trying to become men, they hate.
No, actually, no. You've completely missed the point as well. It's, my God, just. Oh, well.
Them for having power and the patriarchy, so they're trying to overtake it. But a lot of women will talk about rape culture. But guess what? Guess who's going to protect you from bad people? A man.
No, actually. Can I ask you? Imagine you are on the street and someone tries to rape you, and then someone else stops that person. If they're both men, the question I have to ask is, what if you just removed men? Then you wouldn't have the traumatic experience to begin with. The majority of women are not raped by women, or potentially it's by men. So if you remove the man, then there's no traumatic situation. Whether that person rescues you or not, because there's no rapist or potential rapist, there's no traumatic situation because you didn't get raped and you didn't almost experience that. If you remove the man, you understand? So, first of all, ignoring the fact that the person who's doing this bad thing is a man is, kind of stupid. But also, who's going to protect you from bad people? Fucking anyone who has power. But guess what? When you have patriarchy, the man is the one who has power. That's the fucking point of patriarchy. Like, this is just pure ignorance.
Women are nurturers. We need men.
Men are fucking.
It's as simple as that. It's a God-given right for men to exist the way they were assigned to exist.
Just being men.
We need men. It's very.
No, not really.
Simple. We need men to procreate.
Not necessarily. You need men to procreate. In a way of like, you could set up some sort of a system, but like, you need men to procreate in a sort of like, to continue, because obviously it will be a significant drop in the population. Like if every single man disappeared, there'd be a significant drop in the population of the next generation, because, the majority of women, don't provide sperm. But that doesn't mean you don't actually need men to procreate.
We need men to provide.
You do not.
We need men to produce.
Produce.
We need men to go to war and die.
Jesus Christ almighty. We need men to go off and fucking die. For what reason? So that another country can send its men to go off and fuck it. Wait, what? Maybe war is bad. That's just a thought. Maybe we shouldn't have war. That's just a little thought. And I know we would have war, but that's kind of the point. Also, women can go to war too, women can go to war too. As some countries have seen, if you have gender inequality, then sometimes that'll hurt you in your army,
We need men. It's so bad now that men they're so scared of us.
They're not.
They're terrified all the time. I go on
not fucking anti-feminists. They're delighted at that.
dates with men. They're like, am I allowed to open the door? Can I not open the door? Can I touch it? Can I pull the chair out? What can I do? And they're shaking. They're sweating.
I think that might be if you're going on a date with someone and then you're nervous because you're going on a date with them and you want to be, polite and helpful, but also you don't want to come off as a bit of a creep.
And you're just like, be yourself. It's okay.
Yes, but the thing is, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to be. I think you should be yourself. I think it's dishonest not to be yourself, and it's dodgy if you get in a relationship with someone based off of you pretending to be something else. But and that's not to say that they won't like that. It's just like, not to say that, but I mean, they may like, but the person who's thinking that is thinking, yes, but if I be myself, will they like me? You know, will I fuck up?
They're so afraid of doing anything wrong. So much so they're now the most lonely demographic in the world, right? Like the straight white men. I heard.
Yeah, it's just fucking like that's because incels, just being pathetic, little miserable.
Not the most lonely because they just creating incels. You know?
Yeah, who are some of the worst people on the planet. Just fucking self-obsessed little shits.
You know, they don't want to leave their apartment or their house because they're so afraid of women.
No, it's not they're afraid. They just because they are people who are inclined to maybe want to do certain things, but it also happens that certain things are also crimes. So doing them, they realize, might be a bit of a bad idea. This is why incels are potential rapists, but they just most likely will not go through with it because they realize, well, that's not a good idea, you know? It's not a good idea.
I'm not on board with this trend, especially happening in schools right now. There is a trend where they are raising up the girls. Girl power, girl boss, girl this, you know, run like a girl in the best way possible.
You're gonna make me vomit.
That's, it's dangerous.
Another fucking idiot statement.
It is dangerous because, yes, we want to uplift our women. That's the right thing to do so that men and women do maintain equality. But at the same time, by raising the girls, we are forgetting about our boys.
No, you're not. Maybe in your area you are, but I mean, I'm definitely can attest to the fact that they do not forget the boys in my country.
They want to solve inequality by enforcing more inequality, and if women were equal to men...
No, actually, that's not true. You're just a fucking idiot.
And then why do the girls need to be raised up so much? Why?
Because, you fucking moron! Have you seen the hundreds of fucking years your country's oppressed women? That's fucking why! Those entrenched systems are important. I haven't seen America rip up everything and just blank slate every single human, you know? Just wipe their minds and start from the beginning. No, that hasn't happened. Every single generation, it's an issue, which is when you force down this thing, it's of course a benefit to a man to be bad. Of course, now, the issue is that, you know, then there's other things. So a man might be oppressed because of his economic position, which basically means that surely it's a better idea for a person who's, you know, for a poorer man to be a feminist because, you know, they're oppressed too, not because of their gender, but because of their economic position. So it makes sense to exist there, but it does give a man with that's while it is a better idea to just throw up all oppression, for you just get people to just think about the individual oppression. That helps to enforce oppression.
The only men that feminists like are men dressing as women and dominating the only men that feminists like are men dressing as women and dominating their sports and just really reversing what the
fuck you talking about?
The other waves of feminism fought to do. Have fun with men beating you in your sports, women, because guess what? You're not going to beat them.
No offense meant, but that is just incredibly stupid. You are an idiot.
Fought to do. Have fun with men beating you in your sports, women, because guess what? You're not going to beat them.
Funny story. I remember when I was in the old school and we used to have like running, and you used to run. And the funny thing was that when we used to run, we basically had a system where we would see that, you know, some girls would beat some of the boys. You fucking idiot. Like, it's not like, oh yes, Usain Bolt has come from his thing and he'll be running against you. It's not that. Sorry to break it to you. But I presume she's talking about trans women. So just misgendering people left, right, center. Fucking moron. But, you know, what can you expect from an idiot like that? You know, just absolute fucking idiot. Anyway, my point is, though, is that, guess what? It's not Usain Bolt, you know, world record setter that you're running against. You know? it isn't like the top men in the field are suddenly deciding, oh, this is like, no, you're running against other women, you know. So guess what? It's not like you go to a racetrack and every single man is faster than every single woman. It's like, yeah, I mean, look, if you had any men running against women, it would, you know, your man they've got a limp and they're faster than the woman who's got very, yeah, no, that's not how it works. On average, men may be faster, but guess what? A bunch of men, the majority of men, are slower than the women who compete and win the best title in sports. Do you fucking understand that? If you're in a race where you are in a high level race where there's, like, let's say the Olympics, obviously the average man is not going to be as fast as a fucking woman who's running, you know, like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And then that just doesn't make any sense anyway, you know, it's just, what the fuck, anyway. So it's just kind of bullshit anyway, and just doesn't make much sense.
Fun. I never even felt unequal, so...
Isabella, you're just a fucking idiot though, aren't you?
Oh, I don't even know what the problem is. I feel like a lot
You're just an idiot.
of people just want to have a reason to be upset and
No, you're just a fucking moron.
outraged. I also just don't identify with all these identity politics groups. I think
Oh, that's a shame. You're also a fascist.
they're being pit against each other, separating all these different people by race, class, gender, everything, sexual orientation, and I look at people as individuals.
You really don't. You just are a fucking
All right,
idiot.
on that note, let's have the disagreeers step forward.
Like, what an idiot.
There's a difference between not appreciating men and pointing out the inequities that have been systemically put in place to favor men, especially white men, white straight men. There's a difference between hating men and pointing out that there are inequities.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this concept of protection. We're talking about good men who are protectors. Who are they protecting us from?
Yeah, fucking men most of the time.
The bad men.
Bad men, exactly.
Or bad women, bad anybody.
I could
Could be
drive a car
anybody.
and
It was a rhetorical, I guess.
No,
in some
I
ways a
understand the point you were trying to
rhetorical
make. That's
question,
why I
right?
said what
But
you
I'm
wanted
going
me
to
to say.
finish. So then who benefits from men's bad behavior? Good men as well, right? They get to be positioned as the good guys.
Good apples.
Yeah.
They're the good apples. And that is predicated.
Except inherently, the thing is like, well, are you, like, let's say you've got your rapist. Is it not better to not have your rapist or your sexual assaulter? I think the person sexually assaulting, better just to have the knife that just goes straight to their ear and then just have that, you know? Just dead sexual assaulter, because, you know, I don't think sexual assault is okay. But the point is, being seen as a good person for stopping that is not, you're not a good person. You simply are not a bad person for stopping that bad action. But you could still be a bad person. You know? What was your intent in stopping that? You know? Like, there are people who join the police for power reasons. They want to have power over others. Now, whether they are corrupt and they'll use that power against individuals who haven't done anything wrong or not, their purpose in joining is to have power over others. So even if they use the power exclusively against people who have done something bad, they're still problematic. Sure, they're not doing a racist attack or anything, but they're still problematic. They're still causing issues. So the question you have to ask with that is that if that is the case, well, is that person a good person? No. You're not a good person just because you stop a bad action.
On the bad behavior of men.
No, they benefit from being a good person and protecting women. Who cares?
You're not a good person just because you stop a bad thing from happening.
We should not be praising people based off comparing them to bad people.
But I don't benefit from being a good girl. I don't
you know,
get
you're
to...
a good feminist, right? I'm sure people love what you have to say as a feminist.
Not you, clearly.
Other feminists agree with it and are like, yes, go girl
There
boss.
are
They
good
do.
people on earth and bad people on earth. We're always going to have that. That will never change. It's in every animal kingdom. So we
I mean, I would argue there are significantly less good people than people seem to think.
need the good man to protect us from the bad man.
No, you can use women as well. Except, of course, if you have an oppressive society, then you can't. Because someone who, if you have a system which you do that, you can't have a system where that's
To go off of what you said, because you said when women are sexually assaulted, they turn to another man to protect them. I work as a sexual assault and domestic violence counselor. I work with rape victims every single day. They don't turn to men to protect them. They don't.
Yeah.
I didn't say they turn to them. I was saying they potentially can, if you're walking home alone at night and
I
you're
don't
afraid.
turn to another man. I don't. I turn to other women.
Yeah, I appreciate men that, I love a man that knows his place. Build the house. Yeah, repair that. Because I'm a goddess. If you need to hold your weight in the relationship. I appreciate men. I love men. Just like you said, you have a husband, you want to cook for your husband, you make sure that he's good. Men have roles in society as well.
I mean, I feel like maybe a role in society.
Feminist is anything you want it to be. As a woman, I am promiscuous because I'm a feminist, but you can also be conservative because I'm a feminist.
Well, it's kind of a bit stupid to be conservative if you're a feminist, because it's let's just promote the group of people who actively fucking want to oppress us.
Modern day feminism is about you and what you make it, and not what.
It's like voting Republican if you're a feminist. You're an idiot. Or Democrat, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, to be fair, America's not a great example because the way the two-party state works in America, they're kind of the same on some issues. So, to be fair, you could make the argument of, well, is that me, or is that just society? What I'm saying is basically, is that a scenario in which you're like, okay, well, we have a system in place, but do we have the ability to say, oh, all this, it's like, I feel like, it's just your choice there is restricted. While in other countries, your choice there is obviously a little less restricted. So you can vote for someone who maybe has different conservative policies, but isn't, that way,
Someone 60 years ago said it was. But I don't praise men because they aren't raping.
I agree with everything you just said.
You're agreeing with.
Oh my.
I agree with you fully.
The same exact thing.
But I disagree with the prompt because I do appreciate men. I don't think that feminists don't appreciate men. I think that's not true.
The person who taught me to be the feminist that I am was my father. My father did not raise me to believe that I was less than because I was a woman. He raised me to understand that I am societally disadvantaged, but he told me that I was going to rise above that.
My household, my mom was so strong that my dad became so emasculated that he cannot do anything. He stopped working. He became just like a couch potato, right? Why she just went out there and kill it. And we are destroying family, as we know, because look at me. I'm in my 30s. I'm not settled down. I don't have children. I don't have this family unit that I want.
God almighty.
So terribly, because no matter how hard I tried, that feminism that I was raised with always tend to overshadow my relationship. Because in my head, I know best, right? I know what's right. I know, because I saw it growing up. I saw it modeled to me growing up. A woman knows everything. We're so powerful.
But the
We're so
idea
strong.
that men are supposed to be the head of the household, do you understand that that is killing men?
That's killing men.
It is killing men.
Well, let them die, because they need to go back to working.
The pressure of it, you mean, right? The pressure
of it is destroying their mental health. That's why men are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than women are.
I think that's also though about seeking help. So, it's seen in it's like, oh no, you suck it up and you don't do that, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and maybe a problem that could have been solved even, and maybe wouldn't have been, oh, deal with your mental health problems. Maybe it would just be like, you will not have mental problems if you went down this road. That road is now closed. Now there is no way out, and then it leads you to, but yeah.
Especially men in committed relationships. Men in their 40s that are married with families are the highest risk for suicide.
But it's killing men because we have generations and generations of boys who were not raised to be men and
fuck off.
Rise to that occasion.
It's killing men because we're not in a position.
No, actually. if you tell someone this is how you're supposed to act, this is how you're supposed to act, this is how you're supposed to be, this is how you're supposed to be, and then you can't be that way, that puts pressure on you. You were raised to be that way, but you can't be that way.
Capitalistically, where we can have men be the one single head of the household, the bread earner, the decision maker. We are no longer in the 1950s. Our economy is not able to handle that kind of nuclear family.
A man and a woman and a child is the definition of nuclear family, but anything else is also not really. Like if you have grandparents or anything like that, if they join your family, then that's not no longer a nuclear family, you know. If there's a other partner, that's not a nuclear family. So basically the definition of nuclear family is actually kind of a bit of a problem, because, you know, if one of the parents is unfortunately passes away, it's no longer a nuclear family. Like, this is just, like, it's just not factual to say, like, because nuclear families are just, the majority of people do not live really in nuclear families, because, you know, it's like, majority of people would not necessarily want to live in nuclear families, because it's not necessarily the best thing, you know.
Family with the man being the head of the household, the stay-at-home moms and the 2.5 children.
I want to clarify, I'm not a stay-at-home mom.
No,
I do work,
I understand.
and so I do have perspective. When you are in a long-term marriage or relationship with a partner of anyone, yes, you're going to have disagreements, but you also have to understand that each person in that partnership does have...
Yes, but the roles you should set yourself. You shouldn't just, oh, this is how society has told us that we should have roles.
Roles, because that is how a healthy family...
Yes, but not roles that have been chosen by other people.
...functions.
Only women should make laws about women's bodies.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I'm going to add a minor caveat to this and not say that, like, entirely just women should make laws about women's bodies. And I think it's more important that people who are educated on the female body are the people who are allowed to make laws about the female body. Like, we shouldn't have lawmakers making laws stating, oh, abortion is completely illegal, even if it's an ectopic pregnancy, you can reinsert that fetus. No, you're killing people if you make that kind of stupid law.
It doesn't mean that any of our male lawmakers can't be involved.
And frankly, I think they need to be a little bit more involved. Some of them are slacking. Yes. They are letting me down.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You know, I think there are a lot of men who hold a lot of power, who are on our side, who are not doing enough.
Why should you use Miro? When you draw on a whiteboard, no one sees it. With Miro, you plan together in real...
Okay.
I want to say it's funny because I think you all spoke for us, because I think you all agreed that everyone should be involved in making these laws. We need men. You see how simple that was?
And men
God almighty.
can be women these days.
Men can't be women if they actively identify as men. That's not a thing.
I currently identify as a man.
Okay, then you're a man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you agree that these...
God almighty. So, let's go through this.
We need men. You see how simple that was?
And men can be women these days.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Men can't be women if they actively identify as men. That's not a thing.
I currently identify as a man.
Okay, then you're a man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you
Jesus fucking Christ. Some...
agree that these laws that are specific about our bodies, shouldn't the originators of that bill talking about our bodies be women?
Answer that? Can you?
Oh.
No, I think I don't.
Sorry. Sound is gone.
I think we should think about men versus women. I think we should have intelligent.
It's not about men versus women. Of course, men are going to be involved with creating laws and putting laws into place. But when we're talking about the language, when we're talking about verbiage for these laws, shouldn't a woman be, multiple women preferably, be
involved?
Yeah, be at the forefront of what these laws look like for us.
I think it's less about a man versus a woman and more about the way society is now versus 50 years ago. People that you didn't even vote for, that are spending lifelong terms in Congress and such.
Or in the Supreme Court.
You know, in the Supreme Court. That's more of an
Oh, they said it.
An issue to me than worrying about if a man or a woman wrote this law or bill.
There's checks and balances to our government,
checks
but
and
I wanted to
balances,
ask you, would you?
There are very few checks, actually.
I'm a woman.
Like, you know, for example, the Supreme Court is dominated by Republicans. You know, the Senate is dominated by Democrats, and the House is dominated by Republicans. So, you know, that's your three setup there.
100% pro-life.
Oh, you're a woman now?
I identify
She's
right
gender
now.
fluid.
I'm switching back.
Okay. Cool.
No, very fluid by the hour. But
So then you're not, then you be gender fluid then.
would you be okay with? So I'm a woman now, for now, and I am very pro-life. You're okay with women like me making these laws because you disagree with the outcome there. I'm assuming you're pro-choice, right?
But the law,
So you're anti-abortion then, because it's not only true to say you're pro-life, because you know.
law is, if we're talking about Roe v. Wade, right?
Yeah,
The
let's-
law,
as an
the
example.
law is about. It's not about your ideal pro-life. It's about abortion. It's about bodily autonomy. If you don't want to get an abortion, fine. That's what it's all about. It's your choice.
I want to sort of reverse it and ask you the question: should there be laws about women's bodies where there was no women involved? Because there certainly are.
Right, but we live in a system of government where there are states' rights, and I live in California, and guess what? I don't agree with anything our governor is doing. I don't agree with the...
Oh, just 1 second. One second, just to get to that. That's Newsom, right? That's Newsom. So, I mean, like, I feel like maybe, you know, maybe a little bit of a thing where it's like, you don't agree with them? Okay, I mean, sure.
Majority that is in our state
But, you know, do you see are you against Democrats then?
legislature, yet I live here and I choose to live here, and if I have a problem with the laws, then I have the opportunity to move to a different state.
So just fuck all the
You do, but others don't.
people who don't have the opportunity to move to a different state.
Everyone has opportunity to
That's bullshit.
work, to
They
make a
don't.
life
That's bullshit.
for themselves here in America.
That is actual bullshit.
What I love about America is that this is the only place on earth that you can work and achieve based on your merit.
You are talking bullshit all day long. First of all, even if America was that way, wouldn't be the only country. There are other countries where, you know, it's better. But there is no country on this planet that every single person can work. That is kind of just a fact. You know? Every single person cannot work. First of all, we're obviously ignoring children because we don't want to have child labor. But there's just many people who just can't work. And that's not on them. They should be taken care of by society. The government should be taking care of them, you know. But it is, you know, like, you know, they are able to work, you know. You shouldn't be forcing them into work.
I was
And sometimes you just can't work, you know.
raised by a single mom who, you know, didn't have the support she needed to really mother me. So by the time I was 15, I moved out of her home. And I lived with a boyfriend at the time. I fought my school board for better sex education. I fought my senator when he voted to repeal funding for Title X and birth control access to funding I relied on. And I told him, why would you deny me the American dream? And I shared with him that birth control was helping me to be successful, to go on to higher education. And now I'm on a full ride at Columbia University. I'm the first in my family to go to college. And in large part, that is because of access to birth control.
You guys mentioned that, you know, not everyone has a bootstrap. And this is why feminism is such a weird topic to have in this particular country, because I'm from a developing country, I'm from Nigeria. You know, although my parents were quite successful, thankfully, but I grew up around poverty. I saw it every single day. And so to come to this country, to have to start over and make something of ourselves, and I see immigrants do it all the time. When you say things like, oh, I was raised by a single mother, or, you know, most people don't have bootstraps, you're in America. That's like, This is, I mean,
This is the place to do
This
it.
is the place to do it.
You are very ignorant people.
Find that boots, honey, and put it on.
No
And
one's saying
so
that there aren't
let's just
challenges.
find out
We're saying that this is the best place
to do
to
it. And
have
I
that
quickly-
challenge.
No, it's not though.
I quickly want
the challenges are
America is a pretty awful country for a lot of people.
not distributed equally.
Nobody said
Yes, they
that.
are. Let me just.
Somebody did.
To say that only women should make decisions about women's bodies is completely unrealistic.
I have to believe that there is a future where that is possible.
Well, of course there's a future. More women than ever are serving in our government.
Less than half, so, you know.
Of course there's a future. So of course women always have a seat at the table.
You're at Columbia. Look at you. You moved out at 15. You're at Columbia. You're
Yeah,
here.
but when I graduated from UC Berkeley and I was in my lecture halls, there were 2 other black people, and it's 400 people in here. Like, that makes me uncomfortable.
It's not that we look at everything through an oppressive lens, it's that many of us hold different identities that.
Well, no, it's just a fact that, you know, because of your gender, you are oppressed in America. You know? Except you're a man, obviously. Obviously, you might be oppressed for other reasons, once again, but like you won't be oppressed because you're a man, is what I'm saying.
Allow society to continue to oppress us. A
Yeah.
friend of mine had to travel across state for an abortion. She had the ability to select between paying for her disability, the things that she needs for her disability, or traveling for an abortion. Like, you guys don't have to think about that. She has to.
Her decision to have sex.
Not necessarily.
Unless it wasn't,
She
then
was
I'm
being
agree.
raped.
No, then I agree with you.
Raped.
Then I agree with you.
Okay,
I
I
love
think
that.
But I shouldn't have to tell you that story for you to understand that there are certain things that you have not experienced that oppress other people. Oh, okay, you're just traumatized enough for me to understand that maybe things are hard.
Feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism.
I'd agree. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense for someone.
Surprised to see me here?
No.
Okay, good.
You know, it's really important to include trans women and trans people and gender nonconforming people, which, by the way, I am gender queer myself. I don't actually identify as a woman. It's really important that those of us who do have privileges, like, speak up for trans women in the community, especially because they're the most at risk for hate crimes.
I also want to just level set and say that we are having this conversation without trans women. Right? We are sitting here today having
Do we know that?
conversation without
For
trans
sure?
women.
I identify as
She's on a
trans. not,
she identifies as non-binary, and she's on a feminist panel.
my pronouns-
So maybe she doesn't belong here either. They don't belong here.
Oh, God.
Plot twist, I am biologically female and I'll never deny that. I lived as a woman for most of my life. I am 31. I only came out a couple of years ago. I spent a lot of time, you know, the majority of my life in these spaces with women. That does give me a kind of unique perspective now being a trans non-binary person.
There's an issue with categorizing womanhood as a means of female. Earlier, it was mentioned by somebody on the anti-trans side about trans women coming in and taking over sports and things like that.
Yeah,
Which
this fucking Egypt. Like, upper class, probably fucking moron.
is just not true.
That is true.
It's not.
It's not true.
It is.
It's
I can show
not.
you
It's not.
a number
I
of
can
cases.
show you a
there might be
number of
people that also
science-
haven't.
No, I can show you a number.
Trans women retain 30% of their biological advantage.
is not
if they
true.
went through male puberty. Yes, it is.
That is
Yes, it is.
If they went through male period, what if not?
That is not.
Let's not argue it. That's not even the prompts. We're not going to argue about it.
Yeah, but the point is, though, how many trans women? Also, can you understand, like, what about trans men? Would you be like, oh, this is super unfair? Trans men are forced to compete against, you know, cis men. This is terrible. Aren't they having their chances snatched away from them at winning? Because apparently, you know. But the thing is, a trans man could be very, 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 very good at it. And a trans woman could be very, very slow at running, or very, very slow at swimming, or very, very slow at discus throwing, or very, very slow at race car driving. You know, all these things. Like, it's like you can't talk about, because, you know, just Doesn't make much sense.
About that.
Because you're wrong.
If you are a trans woman and you walk out in the world and you are seen as a man, you do not belong in women's spaces.
What the fuck?
I don't care what anybody says. I think that's ridiculous.
Did you misunderstand the prompt? The prompt is feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism, and you've just said.
And I think even trans women that have gender dysphoria that go through transition will agree with me.
This makes me so incredibly uncomfortable that we're even having this conversation.
You could go back over
that.
there if you really wanted to.
Ooh. If we took all of that off the table, right?
Having this conversation.
You could go back
about
over
that.
there if you really.
The prompt is feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism. What the fuck? You go back if you disagreed with the prompt, you know?
You wanted to.
Ooh. If we took
She agrees with the prompt, for fuck's sake.
all of that off the table, right? If we're not talking about who can play sports with whom, can people exist as who they are?
Absolutely.
It sounded like you were saying if a trans woman doesn't look like what you perceive as looking like a woman, they shouldn't be in feminist spaces.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be in female spaces.
Okay.
Not feminist spaces.
Okay.
I think women.
I disagree with that, but
that's
okay.
fine. It makes sense to biologically classify people. It also makes sense to socially
Doesn't really make much sense to biological about me.
classify people. Let's say my friend Blair White was sitting right here. It's my buddy. I love her. She's sitting right here. Do I think she lives her life as a man? No. Like we were talking about men making decisions for women as far as abortions are concerned. That's something she'll never experience.
There are women who
Well, you know.
biologically cannot produce. There are females, people assigned female at birth, who
Yes.
biologically cannot produce. Are you saying that those female women should not be able to have say in those laws?
That's not what I'm saying at all. I guess
But you
my
just
main.
said that they want it. You just said that your friend will not experience that. Also, some people will, you know, be sterilized. You know, they'll ensure that they will not have a child because they will, you know, physically, you know, remove that, cut the fallopian tube, you know, so that they will release an egg, but it will never get to uterus.
An
you know?
issue with trans women.
That can be a thing you can do. If that occurs, that was a medical procedure you went through. Does that mean you can't talk because you will most likely never have a child? I mean, maybe, you know, but, you know.
Being seen as women and not being seen as trans women. Is they're changing the definition of women and expecting everybody to go along with that. And
Not really changing the definition of woman, actually.
that affects me, yes they are. And that affects me directly.
No, they're not.
You say trans women are women are trans women. It's a very different experience.
Trans women are women.
We're just gonna agree to
What the fuck did you sit down there, you fucking moron?
If you ask feminists at a women's march what a woman is, they can't even define it. How can
Oh god, I think this person saw like Matt Walsh. Apparently, Ariella would like to watch The Daily Wire, which is an interesting decision for someone who, yeah, that's interesting because I would advise you don't watch that shit.
can you protect something and empower something that you don't even know the actual definition of?
You don't know the definition either, you fucking moron.
Well, I will say J.K. Rowling calls herself a feminist and was canceled for not being pro.
Isabella, you are a fucking moron. You're just a fucking moron. And I hate to break it to you, but really, you're an actual idiot. You're just such a total idiot.
Pro-trans, which is kind of overtaking and reversing some of the work feminists have done in the past.
No, do you understand? Being anti-trans causes you to push any sort of progress back because the people who will support you in being anti-trans are also fucking misogynistic.
She's a billionaire.
Well, they criticize her.
Fine.
They
She's
criticize
fine.
her. No, she's fine.
No, but the poor billionaire can't criticism, you know? Okay. Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a little story. So, here's the thing. This is a video by a YouTuber that I watched named Call Me Kevin. They played Hogwarts Legacy. And then they switched off the fucking comments. Now, that game was actually kinda good. I'm gonna be honest. That game was kinda good. Probably because J.K. Rowling had pretty much no involvement in it. The rest of the stuff he has involvement in is pretty shit. You know, like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find It, or Harry Potter. Actually, it's pretty. And I never really thought it was a particularly good series. I don't know why people did, but anyway. By the way, that's not. I'm saying before I knew about her transphobia. So just to make that clear, I'm not like one of those people who are like, oh, she's transphobic. Okay, her series wasn't good at all. No, I'm saying, I read it and everything, but it was like, it was okay. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't amazing to me. Point is, though, is that the billionaire, I think, can take a bit of criticism. Also, the fact that she's a billionaire means she shouldn't have those billions anyway.
Feelings are hurt. I'm so saddened for her.
Feminist movement does not allow anyone to have any other opinions but what you guys think is correct.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, you're an idiot if you call yourself a feminist, but you're anti-trans. You're actually a fucking idiot.
She's allowed to have that opinion, and she still makes a bunch of money.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
What do trans?
Yeah. Every single time you buy a Harry Potter book, every single time you go to, Universal Studios, or is it Universal? I'm not sure. And you go on the Harry Potter ride. Every single time that you buy a Harry Potter figurine or anything that's related to Harry Potter, any sort of thing that is in that scenario, like, you're giving money to her. She makes tens of millions off of that every single year.
Women take away from women in the feminist movement.
The definition of words and what that means and how that affects us
You are an idiot, though, John.
directly.
Can you expand on that?
Yes, when you change the word woman, legally it has implications. Sexually it has implications.
Yes, but the thing is, every single cis woman is covered under the definition of woman. So, is every single trans woman, So you're not booting out any cis women and not booting out any trans women, So when you say, oh, this is what a woman should be, you're inevitably going to be booting out cis women. Every single scenario. If you talk about chromosomes, you're booting out some cis women. You talk about, sexual parts. You're booting out less, but still some cis women. So this sort of thing of like, it's just not really accurate to say. Like, it's just it's you're gonna be booting out some cis women if you try and fuck some of these things, which is why we don't do that.
But the word woman has changed throughout histories, throughout different cultures. Indigenous people have had different genders, different ways of looking at gender. The Torah specifically has 8 different genders, and we have recognized that for over 3,000 years. You're denying anybody's culture that does not agree with your perception and your worldview because you hold so highly onto your identity and you see it as an attack on who you are.
So do you on sexual orientation.
So do feminists as a whole,
But it's
though.
nothing to do with sexual
It has
orientation.
exactly to do with sex. When you change the word woman and a lesbian is a woman that is attracted to women, how is that not directly affecting us?
Well, the thing is, and as I said before, are you attracted to that person's like physical body parts? Like, I don't mean like, I mean physically that. Are you attracted to that? In which case, you might not be a lesbian. You might be like maybe pansexual or something like that. Because then you're attracted to body parts rather than the actual person. So, you be attracted to those set of body parts, which is not actually a lesbian, It's not straight, but it's actually a lesbian. So, if you're a lesbian, you're talking about mental things, So, you don't, I'm not saying it's wrong to be attracted to someone based wholly off their body parts. What I'm saying is, that's not actually lesbian, it's like pansexual,
What defines a woman is being born with biological women's parts.
Incorrect.
And that is what a woman is.
I'm afraid that is not true.
And trans women are individuals who choose to live their lives as women. And I honor that. And everyone deserves dignity and respect.
The thing is, though, and this is the thing, what about intersex people? Well, what about intersex people who have, 90% of their body is made up of women, typically women's parts, but then they've got that 10% which isn't. Are they now not a woman because apparently you have to have the. Okay, so is it maybe it's 50%? Then you have to have 50% or more. Like, do you say you have to have like 50.00001%? Typically considered female parts. Is that what it is? Where do you draw the line? Where do you say, well, no, you fall into male or female? Because if you're saying there's this binary, there's this issue of if there's a binary, then you will at some point fall into either category. Then, if you say this, so it kind of breaks that.
And I mean that. But at the same time, there are universal truths, and we have, as a society, gotten to this confusing tangled place where there's your truth, your truth, your truth, your truth. There is
No, it's just that you're wrong.
one objective truth in what we are.
Can you explain to me the women in Guatemala who are born female, who are assigned female at birth, and then during puberty grow penises?
I've never, I can't explain it because I don't know anything about
that. Sounds like an intersex condition.
You try to, again, but how feminists always try to tell us how we should live our life. I said I was a raging feminist. She goes, I don't believe that. I don't see
What?
that.
You say?
How we should live our life. I said I was a raging feminist.
Original.
She goes, I don't believe that.
I don't see that. I don't in what you've been saying. I can't see any traces of feminism in
My
what you're
mother
saying.
is literally.
We heard a lot about
Yes, and
Mom, but what about you?
I am a woman.
Yeah.
Looking at me, I am a woman. Born and raised a woman.
Yeah.
Why are we trying to write women, born biological women, why are you trying to write us out of history?
You're not.
You guys keep saying that there's a biological reality of male and female. Scientists do not agree with you.
Scientists that you choose to agree with.
No scientists that have accuracy.
But I mean, you can find a study and a scientist to back up anything you want to.
True for you. Scientific that kind of works against everything.
Well,
These days.
I choose to do peer-reviewed studies and not ones that are backed by political agenda. And I'm sorry that my peer-reviewed studies tend to agree with the fact that trans women are women.
Also, people seem to miss the fact that trans women are like mentally speaking. There's like that is the gender in the mind. So while your one was like, oh, you're not attracted to someone's brain, yes, but the thing is, you're also generally not attracted to the
And that biology, it does not exist in a binary. Never has and it never will.
I secretly crave men's approval.
I mean, not much of a secret if you come forward, is it?
Yeah. Men's approval has kept me safe in so many ways. Being desirable, being fuckable has kept me safe many a time. And it's no secret. I guess that's where I disagree. It's no secret that sometimes men's approval is what stands between me and safety.
I firmly believe that the reason why I waited so long to come out with my transness is because I was afraid of losing male approval. It is so embedded into our society. I really pushed myself to present in a way that wasn't authentic to me for men.
I'm trying to unlearn this very actively and trying to fight for nobody's approval but myself. Because it's not even that I should have men's approval or I should need men's approval or women's approval. I should need my own approval.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this prompt I think might be surprising for some folks to see us sitting here.
Yeah. Because we're so feminist,
sure.
but
But it's a reminder that this work doesn't happen in a vacuum. And that because I am implicated in what is happening, right? In the issues, I am implicated in the issues. That's why I do the work. Because I am impacted by them.
What inspired me to start an OnlyFans page is the money. Hello. I'm a rich man. Thank you, OnlyFans.
It's a platform to monetize.
Right, indeed it is. Wow. Indeed it is. It's monetize stuff. My God.
I've never thought of a moment where I thought to myself, oh, I wish that man would find me sexy because I feel so empowered in myself. I always dress like this from head to toe, covered usually from head to toe, and I don't think I've ever experienced a moment, perhaps subconsciously, but I don't think I've ever. And, I think that's also why, with my platform now that I switched from a raging feminist to femininity, which I was, and you can't tell me what I was and who I was. I had the shaved head, the armpit hair, all of it.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. And when I went from that to
jumping at
that, now I teach women how to dress modern and cover up and be feminine and soft and all of that.
Who are you dressing modern and modest for?
For myself, because it empowers me. I am Nigerian first and foremost, and because of that, in our culture, we've always been very modest. We didn't even have a word for it. It's just that's how women dress. We would layer on top of layers on top of layers. And I remember when I first, became a feminist and like moved into, and I would show skin, I always felt so uncomfortable.
Why did you feel uncomfortable with showing your skin? I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just asking out of curiosity why you felt uncomfortable, like what the root of that discomfort.
Good to make clear that that's not you.
Was.
Because it's not who I am.
But I also think we'd be denying reality if we said when we put clothes on the morning, we didn't think about the way that we would navigate the world in them, right? The way that people would perceive us and think about us. And it's definitely worth noting that, like, clothing choices are also about access to power, access to moving through spaces, being seen as acceptable in certain spaces, right?
Like covering up, not necessarily because you feel like that empowers you, but covering up because it's a sense of safety. Like so many, like one of the things that we have to, with my job, we have to correct officers on, like when an assault victim comes forward, like they're not allowed to ask, what were you wearing? Like,
Yeah,
but that's,
yeah, it feels like a little like blaming the victim, a little bit like blaming the victim, just a tad bit like blaming the victim. I feel, if you're doing that, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, if you're just going, oh, what were you wearing now exactly? Huh? What was going on there? Huh? It's just a bit, that'd be, wouldn't be the best now. Yeah, would not be the best thing there. But yeah.
But because it's very bad, it's very dehumanizing because it implies that
it was their fault.
That it was their fault.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I just don't really care about men. Like, men are not a part of my day. When I wake up in the morning, I think about how to be the baddest bitch, how to step into myself. So if that's looking how to be the baddest,
and she said,
how to step into myself. So if that's looking like you from head to toe or showing a little cleavage, like it's gonna be what it is. And men are gonna like, the men I attract, they like me because I am like no one else they've met. Like they've never really experienced this new person. It's like you don't know what their approval is, like especially when it comes to things like race and preference, and like nothing that I do is gonna really be approved by men ever. So I might as well just do me.
But I do just want to say that men's approval, once again, it's not just about if they want to date you or marry you or have sex with you. It is about if they want to hire you, if they want you to be a part of their organization or their school. And so when we talk about wanting men's approval, we're talking about if they want to hire me, if they want to let me have access to that social mobility, and if they will allow me to be safe walking down the street or in a bar. Men's approval is so much deeper and more systemic than just romantic.
Are we allowed to, I have to agree with that, even though we're on the opposite end of this, because I'm a blogger and I write about women's like makeup, and for example, Dove is one of the brands that I am the face of, and when I go into those meetings, they are white men.
Yeah.
And although I do not go into it thinking, oh my God, I should seek their approval, I do know that the way I dress conservatively gets me those checks.
And probably as a black woman, how you wear your hair as well.
Oh yeah, they love this hair. Oh, they love it. They love it. They love it.
I was trying to push you before.
No, I do that. But that's also how I was raised, and it's cultural. Nigerian women are very conservative by nature.
It's rational for women to fear men.
I mean, I'm not sure about that one. I feel like somewhat, but also you have this thing of like, well, like, oh, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah.
Working with sexual assault and domestic violence victims every single day, it has completely just reopened my mind and my trauma, because I am a sexual assault survivor myself, which is why I got into the work that I do. It's every single woman, almost every single woman has some sort of story where she was in a room or in a space with a man and that man made her feel unsafe. And if every single woman has a story like that, it's rational.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why, again, I know I'm bringing this back to the trans issue, but that's what, again, why I think it's important to define what a woman or man or male or female is. Like, if it's just something in your head, then why do we logically have to be afraid of that specific thing if it's just something, a gender in your head?
So
there are biological differences.
What?
You have to be afraid of that specific thing if it's just, if it's just something in your head, then why do we logically have to be afraid of that?
Because of society. If someone as a man feels that they have, like, you don't have the same power. Obviously, if you're a woman, you commit sexual assault on someone, likely you face repercussions that are much more likely than if you're a man. You know, much more likely. Because if a man accuses you, yeah, you're probably not gonna, like, you know, if you're a woman, you're not gonna probably get doing
That specific thing if it's just something, a gender in your head.
So
there are biological differences that can make us fearful or
Yes
make men react certain ways that are different than women.
Yes and no,
physical
but there's
differences, testosterone
but
levels.
there's absolutely a different perception of a trans woman than a man. Like when, in my experience, when women are with, like in the same room as trans women, they're not as fearful of like, oh my God, this person could assault me, because the likelihood of trans people assaulting women is so small. Like it's practically
And there's no
not.
reason.
I do feel like there's a partial thing of that. Not only is it like also being transgender also will lead to depression yourself, but even the fact of like, imagine, right, someone files a report of sexual assault, and it's, let's say it's a company or a police officer, and they look at the person and they go, oh, the person is trans. Do you think they're more likely to be investigated, more likely to be investigated, more likely to have evidence dished out against them, more likely to face punishment, or less? More likely. They're more likely, you know? Because there is discrimination that they face as well, that leads to them also being more likely to be. So if you're in that position, it's the same thing as if like you're like somebody who isn't a citizen of a country. You're less likely to, you know, commit crimes than you are if you're not, because you know if you commit a crime, you're getting deported. And if you commit a crime, you're more likely to be just convicted, because you will not be treated in the same way. So if you're a trans woman or trans man, you know you will not be treated in the same way. You'll be treated worse, and they will crush you more and will be more likely to convict you. It's the same thing if you're not white. If you're not white in America, you're more likely to be convicted. You're more likely to have evidence you're against you. You're more likely to you're gonna get a longer sentence. All this
There's
stuff.
a reason for that.
I agree with that.
And
Actual trans women. My point.
Trans women, period, not actual or inactual.
No, there is a thing. People that are claiming the trans identity but are not
that's
trans.
against the prompt.
That's true.
Men are
What?
not only scary because of their biological difference, they're strong or whatever, right? Some of the violence is that men can be abusive, harmful, and get away with it.
Yeah.
The systemic
Absolutely.
power.
It's the systemic power that
You're
is
right.
scary.
The
You're
reason that 90% of sexual assault cases go unreported is because of like roughly the 8% that are reported. Only 2% of them actually face consequences.
Yeah.
And we seem
I
to
think we
agree
all
on
agree.
that.
Yeah.
Everyone
It's
agrees.
tragic. Right.
Yeah.
Some of my deepest, I honestly would say probably my deepest trauma is actually not my physical sexual assault. It was the manipulation that I faced
After.
in the workplace by someone who was not necessarily physical with me, but they manipulated me. They used their power to paint me in a light and push me out of that job that I loved.
I'm so sorry you experienced that.
I agree, like the stats will say a trans woman, which I would say is a man, a trans woman, it is less likely, like very unlikely to attack. But it's not even, it's really kind of the principle. It's like, but if they were to, they would beat me up.
But then I'm going to take that one step further, which is that if they were to, and then the police were to come, what would their experience be like versus yours as a white woman?
I'm not talking about the cops. It's just me and
But
the
the
trans
cops are
woman.
a factor.
I actually hate the cops. Just saying.
Oh.
I don't like cops.
If you see a a male person and you see a trans woman, like, what does that have equal amounts of fear for you, or is there a difference?
So my thing, I'm trying to focus in on a trans woman wants to beat me up.
Why are trans women wanting to beat you up?
No, that's not the, I'm saying hypothetical. It's a hypothetical. I'm just saying, like, can we all agree that I would get my ass beat?
But I'm saying...
Well, yes or no? I mean...
Yes, maybe, but then, how would the experience be outside of just that hypothetical vacuum?
I'm not even talking about that.
I want to finish my thought because
that's not the prompt, though.
No, but it is the prompt because we're talking about, we can't talk about this in a hypothetical vacuum.
What's the prompt?
The prompt was that it's rational for women to fear men, but you're bringing in trans women when the discussion is men.
It's not about physicality for me, it's about power.
And that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah,
is that,
and that's what you are
and
saying.
that's what I'm saying, is that that situation is so unlikely, and it is unlikely because of the difference in societal power that you hold over a trans woman.
That's not exactly
For
true.
people who love to,
I understand.
But no, the thing is, as I've said, like a woman who wanted to beat you up could most likely beat you up, you know? If not sexually assaulting you, they're just physically assaulting you, you know? So, you know.
That you hold over a trans woman.
That's not exactly true.
For people who love to,
I understand what you're saying.
love to criticize other people for assuming genders incorrectly, you love assuming how things are going to happen and like predict the future and how situations play out and how I'm treated by everyone else.
Well, you're hypothetical. That's a hypothetical. You're also
assuming what would happen to me.
You're assuming they would beat you up.
A man would beat me up. Yes.
Yeah, but they're not talking about a man, though.
Yes. You're assuming a trans woman would beat you up.
We'll be specific. A male.
Male. Yes.
Better.
That's all I'm saying. You want to avoid answering that part and going to this bigger, broad thing to avoid.
No, but you've said a trans woman, and then you said a man, which is not true. Trans woman is not a man.
If there's a biological man, a trans woman...
I disagree with you on the definition.
So there's two people. There's a man and there's a trans woman. Okay, so when you say, okay, so there's two people now.
Biological male.
But I'm a biological
We'll say male or female and gender man or woman.
I'm a biological woman who is roughly of like not too big of difference of size. I could easily beat you up. So why are you more afraid of them than me when I present just as equal of a difference to you? It's because of your...
No, you obviously could beat me up
because
man would beat me up more.
No, you said this 5 minutes ago. Males, not men necessarily. Males create, would you say 90% of... Would you say males create 90% of the crimes?
I didn't say that.
There was something like that.
I said I was talking about reports of sexual assault, and that does actually include male assault victims. And most of them are males. And most of the male assault victims, their assaulters were also men.
That's my point. Right.
Hi. Okay, so let's start by saying the conversation that I just listened to, I don't disagree with much of what we were talking about. When this prompt was asked, I interpreted the prompt to say, to communicate, it is rational for women to fear all men. I know that the word all was not in there, but that's how I sort of understood it, which I don't think it's rational for women to fear all men. I think that's very tragic. We know that there are bad men, we know that there are very, very good men. And I personally think that the amount of good men exceedingly overwhelms the amount of bad men, but that's just my personal opinion. I also, quite frankly...
Well, you're wrong with that one, like the amount of very few good people.
Fear women. I do. I fear how manipulative women can be to each other in the workplace. I fear how manipulative women can be to each other and how toxic women can be to each other when it comes to polarizing topics like we've discussed here, motherhood, other very incendiary topics.
We're talking about physical abuse with men, and actually with emotional abuse, it's most common in lesbian couples.
Really?
So,
Yeah, that is
yes,
actually.
you would know.
No,
you deal with it. It's
there is
horrendous.
actually a statistic.
Horrendous.
Women are equally as likely to commit domestic violence. I genuinely, when I got into this work, I thought that it was going to be like, oh, just men commit domestic violence. No, women.
I mean, I think that's more of a logical thing, because you think, well, obviously, if you commit domestic violence, first of all, what the reaction from the other person is going to be is a big thing. Like, if you hit me, and then I go, well, I mean, don't fucking hit me, and then I react to that, then so you're sort of understanding of, well, what will occur if you do this to somebody. If you try and emotionally abuse somebody, if you try and physically abuse somebody, if you try and mentally abuse somebody, what will the reaction be? Because if their reaction is going to be to hit back at you, and hit back at you very strongly, then you'll be less likely to do it. You'll want to do it, but you'll be less likely to do it. If you feel like if they report you, that you'll be more likely to be convicted, you're more likely to not get away with it, then people will do less of it, you know? That's not going to reduce the amount of people who want to do it, but it is going to reduce the amount of people who feel like they can get away with it.
Women are
really
equally
bad.
as likely to commit domestic
But
violence.
why were you surprised by that?
Because I had a different definition in my head of what domestic violence was before I got my training. Domestic violence is not just like punching, hitting, or physical violence. Oftentimes it's emotional violence, psychological violence, sexual violence, financial violence, legal violence, and women are far more likely to commit psychological domestic violence or emotional domestic violence.
But why were you, with your original definition, the more violent definition of domestic
Like
violence?
physical violence?
Yeah, physical violence. Why were you surprised that, oh, women, like...
I wasn't surprised that
like
women
you
commit
assumed that
physical.
men would.
No, I wasn't
commit
surprised
more,
that
though.
women commit physical violence. Physical domestic violence. I assumed that I assumed that there was one definition of domestic violence, and that was physical. And statistics do show that men do commit physical domestic violence more than women.
Yeah,
do.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
That's,
you know, if you can get away with it, yeah,
it's just a fact.
But that's the problem with patriarchy, you know.
Like when you
Yeah.
when you
That's
add
what
in
they do with it.
all other kinds of domestic violence,
Yeah.
women commit it at equal rates.
Yeah, that's a wrap on the group discussion. Take a breath for a second.
I do appreciate the ways in which we have been able to come together and agree, because I am of the opinion that feminism and anti-feminism, they do oftentimes blend, because I think a lot of the times we are misunderstanding what the other person's
We all
viewpoint
want
is.
what's good for women.
That's what I said over there.
We
I
just
said
have
we
a
all want
different
it.
idea of
what
what's
that
good for
is.
women, yes, but we all want the best for each other.
Even if I disagree, I love strong women. I love it. It's not a gay thing, maybe a little bit.
And all of our intentions are good. We don't want ill.
That is a wrap on the group discussion.
Well, that was that. Thank you for watching. And yeah, a lot of very wrong people there. Some fascists, actually. Some very, very stupid people. But anyway, yeah, this video was a little bit shorter than you know, some of the other videos. But yeah, so well, yeah. So I guess I'll just say, yeah, sorry for boring you if I was boring you, but you know, long video, but goodbye.